Hello and welcome to BlogSprout. I'm LJ and today I'm going to show you how I use the brand swapping technique on my site. So I'm doing this on my demo site, constructioncatalogs.com, so you can see a real life example of this brand swapping technique. I do use this on my other site, but this is the only strategy I'm using on this site. So this site was started specifically to be a demo site. And I chose the niche because my boyfriend is getting his hydraulics license, so I thought the niche might be interesting to write about. And I thought I would make a site in its simplest form where I'm simply just writing about all these different types of vehicles. The only type of queries that someone would be looking for are the specs, the features, attachments, the uses, things like that, rather than how to use certain type of equipment or anything that requires a little bit more knowledge. Maybe we'll get there in the future, but I'm not planning on putting a lot of effort into this site. So in its simplest form, this site is a catalog for construction vehicles where I'm simply putting together articles where I write about each of these construction vehicles. So this is great to use the brand swapping technique because these vehicles typically are in families. So what I mean by families is that what you can see here is I have this excavators page open right now. Currently, I only have Bobcat excavators on my actual site, but what you can kind of see here is that all the excavators are sort of in a family. They're an E followed by a two-digit number. So what we're going to do is take a look at how I specifically use the brand swapping technique to create all of this content quickly and easily, but also make it different enough. So let's start on the E10. So the E10 is an excavator by Bobcat. So this is just going through the specs for the excavator and the other features. So as you'll see, I have a featured image, I have a brief intro, I have the resources where I got my information, and then I go into the specs where I talk about the engine, capacities, weight, dimensions. I have a quick video that I found online of the different the basic design of the E10. And then I go into other design features. I talk about the performance features, the arm options, operator comfort, and then I manually checked all of the attachments that you could order with the E10. Then there's a brief article on maintenance and final words. So if we check out the resources where I got this information from, it is a PDF of a brochure of this family of excavators. So this excavators has all their compact excavators listed in one document. So if we scroll down, you'll see that this entire document has E10, E20, E26, E32, 35, 42, 50, 60, 88, and as you'll notice, those are all the ones I have on my site. So this is a perfect example of using that brand swapping technique. So in this case, we're not actually doing swapping of a brand, we're swapping a product, and that also can be used, a product swapping technique, because in this case, the features and the general design are very similar, but the attachments, the capacities, and a couple of small other differences will occur. So what did I do here? When I was looking at creating the E10 article, I was focusing on things that weren't in the R2 series because the E10 is not part of the R2. And I read through this entire document and took notes on the different features. The finger boom control, the power, the display monitor, the different types of arms, which is what I mentioned before. So I went through this entire document and outlined the things that were not included in the R2 series. And those then apply to the E10. So I went through all the electronics. You know, it's a relatively long document, so it definitely took some time to go through. And then here's where we see the actual specs. So that's the first part of my articles. I go through the specs. So there's a great chart at the bottom here where it goes through the specs of all of these different excavators. So if we go back to my site and compare this to the E20, when I made the E20, I simply copied over the E10, changed out these resources to apply to the E20, changed all these engine specs, so I had to rewrite this section, but the same structure was there. I just changed the actual numbers for the lift capacity, digging force, the weight, dimensions, found a new video for just the E20. If there was anything specific in that PDF in that brochure that mentioned the E20 had any special features, I added that in. But for the most part, the transportation, performance, arms, operator comfort were all the same. So basically the section from design down to the attachments is word for word, and all I did was change out wherever I said Bobcat E20 or E10, I changed to E20. So if we go back to the E10 and we go back and we go to this operator's section, it says the cabin of the Bobcat E20 compact excavator is designed based on modern comfort standards. It offers a big adjustable suspension seat, clear visibility, and large footroom, legroom, and headroom. Each feature is added to the machine's cabin to improve comfort and productivity. So if we go to the E10, that's the exact same wording, except I say in the Bobcat E10. So this is the general strategy for this brand swapping technique, is you're using and copying over all the information that's the same. Of course, this is slightly different than the brand swapping technique I use in that it's more query based. For example, in this type of space. For example, it could be the arm of the excavator is stuck, and it'd say how to fix stuck excavator. And then you could have different articles on how to fix stuck excavator arm on E10 and E20 and so on. And what makes that slightly different is that the type of arm and the actual structure of the vehicle itself might be different from one another. So that's where you make those minor changes, but the bulk of it's going to be the same. Typically, for something like that, you are going to focus on what could be causing the problem, what are some of the fixes, and you may need to do a little bit of research to find out what's different between the E10 and E20 that could potentially impact that query. So this is slightly different than the brand swapping technique that I'm using, but this is it in its simplest form where, you know, for different power tools, there are families where the general features are the same, but there's different power, different attachments, and different chains on like a chainsaw. So this I thought was a great example for this brand swapping at its base level. So I updated, you know, in the brand swapping, I copied it over, updated that beginning, the video. If there was anything in the middle to switch, which mostly it wasn't, then I manually checked the attachments that could go on, and the maintenance from Bobcat side are pretty much the same. And there I have the vehicle. So rather than starting from scratch, I got to use the bulk of the content. So then for the other vehicles that were in the R2 series, such as the E35, I believe. Let's take a look. Yep, the E35 is part of the R2 series. So what we did in the E35 is use the same type of strategy, copy it over, change the video, but then anything where it mentioned R2 series, I made and added the changes. It looks like it has upgraded LED work lights and has the option for a 5-inch or 7-inch display, but most of the other features are the same. So I was able, there's a lot more attachments though, but I was able to very quickly generate this content because I wasn't starting from scratch. I moved over all the content to a new document, made the changes that were specific to that vehicle, and was able to use that brand swapping or product swapping, in this case, technique. So this can be used for all products, all brands, but the caveat I say is make sure that the query is different enough. It's very clear if someone's looking for an E10 versus E20, those are going to be different. Enough of the content is going to be different that in Google's eyes, it's going to see it as separate content. But if you have, let's say we are writing an article that the excavator arm is stuck. If there are no differences between the E10 and E20, I would combine the two and I would say how to fix excavator arm on E10 and E20. So that way you're covering both queries, but you're not creating two separate articles, because in Google's eyes, if you're just switching out E10 and E20, I don't think Google's going to like it. In my opinion, I think Google's going to count that as duplicate content. So really make sure that all the queries you target are different enough from each other. But what this allows you to do is really create a lot of content that is easy to replicate. So on my other sites, again, I use more queries that are like how to fix or how to clean, and again, use the same type of strategy and just alter maybe a small section or maybe even up to half of the article that is tailored to that specific product or brand. So this allows you to almost create an infinite amount of articles with products or brand swapping. But again, I do advise that you make sure they're different enough that Google will see it as two different queries. This site is only using this strategy. So as you can see, like on the excavators page, all the information was taken from that one brochure. I do not recommend you do that. I think that's a little excessive, but I'm just making this site to give you guys an example and show you this brand swapping technique. I have no idea how well the site's going to perform. My other site's not really like this, where it's so similar from one another and there's no other types of queries. It's just a catalog of vehicles that I've written about and, show all the features and specs, things like that. So I just want to make it clear that that's not what I'm recommending you do, is taking this exact strategy and bringing it into another niche. You could, and let me know how it goes, but I think there's more opportunity to write in other query terms that are more troubleshooting and how to, because there's more engagement, there's more opportunity for affiliate products, all that. So that's the brand swapping method in a nutshell. So if you go to this site and look around, you'll see that so all the vehicles I have listed here, excavators, tractors, and UTVs, and I did this for all of them. Of course, for excavators, they all came from the same brochure, but let's take a look at the tractors. If we look at the tractors, there are, a couple different L series tractors. These I don't believe all came from a single brochure. Some of them are older, so they were in a previous brochure, and some of them are newer. But it was all using the same strategy. So I just translated it over, made the changes, and then went from there. So I hope this was helpful. I know there aren't many examples out there of this brand or product swapping method, so I hope this is useful and maybe it's something that you can apply to your site. So thanks for watching again. I'm LJ, this is Blogsprout, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!